Welcome to Foxhole Symphony, a podcast about the transformational value of men in authentic community.
In our Foxhole, men are equipped to build relationships that foster belonging, accountability, and growth.
Stop believing the lie that you can thrive in isolation and instead
join us on the journey from broken to whole.
Hey, everybody. Sarge, welcome back. Episode 6. Here we go.
Thanks, brother.
So it's some parts of what we talk about today are going to have things to do with lists and goals and a roadmap.
Okay.
And as a goal-oriented human, that's going to suit me really well. But we'll get into all those details. Let's call it the road to authentic community is what we're going to talk about in more detail today. I'm going to just start by saying a shout out to all of my goal-oriented, task-oriented friends out there in listener land, because as you well know, I have multiple lists. I do. I love to check the box. As damaging as that can be in some areas of life, I'm a box checker. I have on these iPhones.
Hi, my name is Mark, and I'm a box checker.
Thank you. Hi, Mark.
Hi, Mark.
Yeah. So on the phone, I've got, there's a notes section, lists, reminders, lists. And then I have this little yellow pad, which is kind of like my list for the day. I just take that wherever I go and check things off. But I didn't want to, or a good spreadsheet list. Oh, love spreadsheets.
Oh, forget it.
Right?
I got all of them. I have all of them. So what I get my notes and my reminders in my phone, somehow I don't know what to use for which. It's all over the place, right? Spreadsheets. Those that know me, you know this about me, Mark. Like
yes.
I'm a whiteboard guy. I've got whiteboards for my whiteboards. I have them everywhere. There's one. We're like, hey, we need a whiteboard for the studio. I'm like, I got one. How big you want it? I have a whole selection in my basement. I literally,
Perfect.
I have them in my garage, my car, by my bed, at work, my whole office. Love it. Love to make lists.
And I see .xls and I get like, it's like, and .xls, everybody out there, right? Of course, is the tag for a spreadsheet online for Excel. In any case, that goal orientation is so wired into me. I've already picked out the name for my company. Once I refire my life and stop working for anybody else, it'd be GSD LLC. And it's Get Stuff Done LLC. It's like, that's what I do, right?
It's absolutely what you do.
We've been together, and the S could be stuff or it could be something else. But I feel like that's one of the things God has oriented me to do, is to bring me in areas where you've got to get from A to B. Like there's a roadmap from here to there. Mm-hmm. Thank God there are people like you and others that say, okay, slow down a little. Let's take a little turn here. Let's go off this ramp a little bit. Let's stop and breathe for a little while. And I've incorporated all of that into it, but I love to land the plane.
Yep, you do.
And that's right.
You do.
Galvanizing and tenacity, right?
Yep.
We've talked about, too many times. So shout out to friends who are goal-oriented. If you're not, that's cool too. Want to say in advance, I have to be really careful in conversations like this about a roadmap where it's not just about goal orientation. Mm-hmm. It's not just getting stuff done.
Right.
It's thinking through this, praying through this, and having it make sense. So let's talk about the roadmap. For anyone who's made a decision that they're ready to move, they've decided, okay, heard you guys in your initial episodes, understand some of the challenges, roadblocks, risks, real life scenarios we've talked about, but I'm ready to move. I've looked at the Foxhole Symphony website and prepare to move, embrace discomfort, get real. I'm ready.
Yeah.
What do I do next?
Mm-hmm.
What do I do first?
Mm-hmm.
Right. I want to speak about that. Someone said something smart to me. We were sitting down doing strategy at work, and clearly the task in front of us was overwhelming, strategic, global enterprise level planning. And we were struggling. We were just sitting there. We're like, what? Oh my gosh, there's so many things in front of us. And one of the guys in the room said, we don't need to know what to do. We just need to know what to do next.
Yeah, absolutely. Great principle. Yeah. We sometimes can get, analysis paralysis if we're so focused on, what do we do to get to the end goal? And it's just the incremental aspect of, goal setting and, moving toward the end goal is, paramount really in so many areas of our lives. Right.
Amen. Amen. So that let's keep that in mind. And I'll say this again later. We're not talking about a chart. We don't do prescriptions here.
Right.
And we've agreed. So, or formulas.
No.
We may talk about them.
Listen, authentic community is not going to be achieved through a formula, right? Or a program. That's just not what we're selling here, right? We're selling something different. We'll talk more about that.
Right. And just keeping in mind, what you're hearing from us is our experience. Mm-hmm. Our experience over 15 years together, our life experience for as long as God's had us on the earth, and the other people we've interacted with. So we'll keep going there. So, listener, you're ready to move. You know that community could be valuable in your life. You are ready for some authentic and accountable relationships in your life. One of the things we'd probably want to talk about is, what kind of community am I looking for? What's the group look like? Mm-hmm. So I've got a list of options here. We'll run through them, and I know we'll be talking about how they interrelate in some combinations. So you might be looking for a Bible study. You might think, you know what, I'm going to stick right in the Word and do it via Bible study. I might want like an adventure-oriented type of group. Priority 1 comes to mind. I remember in the old days, there was an Outward Bound.
Yep.
I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, I do.
Right? It's go away for the weekend and, get sweaty and messy and sit around the fire. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. You might just want to do a book study, not Bible book, but just common interest book study. How about this? You just want a friend.
Sure.
You're just ready to stop. We were talking this morning about a mutual friend of ours that is alone.
Yep.
Right. But reaching out to people, just looking for common interest in people. Mm-hmm. How about another one?
Yeah. So, again, depending on where people are in their life, and people are in, all along this spectrum of what they might be looking for or sensing that they need. So do they need an accountability group, or are they looking for an outlet to serve somebody? And I would say particularly there's power in that particular type of environment.
Absolutely.
Especially, and just even approaching serving. I mean, there's something about serving others and serving together. And it's also a little bit dangerous, because for those of us that are maybe a little bit more prideful or narcissistic, there can be sort of this paternalistic mindset or aspect of serving. Like, I'm going to go help these people because they need help and I can help. It's like, yeah, no, like that, and look what I've done. Look what we've done. It's like, nah, so I just want to caution
people.
Really
good point.
Yeah. But that said, like, even if we are just see ourselves as self-centered and prideful, going to a place of service, not even so much for what we're going to accomplish, right? But just to look to be changed through that process.
Absolutely. That's good. That's duct tape and hammer stuff, right? Where I'm going to go fix this.
Yeah, right. Exactly. That just feeds. It pushes us further into the cave of pride.
Oh,
right. So
that's a great point.
Yeah. So, I mean, approaching that, with a heart posture of humility and not, sensing that we're better than these people that we're serving. Things like addictions, right? So maybe you're battling an addiction, whether it be, drugs, alcohol, porn, whatever it may be. There's a group for that, right? There's a group for that. And certainly there's accountability and support, in that, or even if you're on the other side, you have a spouse that's battling addiction, or a loved one. There's support for that, right? And learning and accountability. Maybe you're sensing there's something needed in your relationship, right? So as a couple, you're going to look for an avenue to, grow closer together and be sharpened as a couple. So all sorts of opportunities.
Right. And I'm going to give you a real life example. In this list, I'm an A, B, D, E, G, right? Because when I decided, for me, it was the birth of a life group. So it was connecting to a local church, moved to the community, connect to a local church with my wife and family, young kids at the time,
Right.
and move to, okay, we like this little community on Sundays. What else is there? And they promoted life groups. Life groups became Bob. Bob went to Mark Men for Christ. And each one was, for me, a different group connection. First, it was the church community. Then it was life group, men friends. Then the Bible got into the middle of it. Then we got to Band of Brothers, another layer of accountability. Then Mark Men with outdoor, being outdoors and things like that. So it's there. Keep in mind, you can't just grab one of these. I mean, I guess you could and say, I just want friends. I'm going to go find friends.
And even there, right? Like okay, around what? Like you'll find friendships in any of these, right?
Right.
But what are you drawn to? What's your personality? What's going to feel safe initially? And going back to what you said earlier about an incremental next step, take the first step. Right? Maybe you're not ready to dive off the high dive like I usually am in anything that I do. That's okay, right? Like to me, more risk equals better. Right? Yes. Yeah. Jump out of the plane. Let's go.
Parachute? Oh, wait.
Let's do it. Others are like, just looking for, I'm not sure, And
I want to stick my toe in the pool.
Yep.
We're high dive guys.
That's fair.
We are.
Yep.
I mean, I'd love to be able to give people different perspectives. I've gotten more discerning about that as my life has gone on.
Same here.
And some of it has to do with family risk, you're doing what?
Yeah.
But
the fact that, again, like the big risk, there's a reason it's called risk. It doesn't always end well.
No, we'll talk about some of those later on.
Sure.
So again, I'm going to try and wear the listener's shoes, for the men we're trying to reach. There's a part of this is just opening your eyes to community.
Yep.
What's your awareness of what's around you?
Yep.
Okay. How far do you need to reach to find the community you're looking for? Who might be right next to you? Sherlock Holmes always said to Watson, sometimes the clue is right in front of your nose. On the mantelpiece would often be in the British flicks that I watched back in the day. And sometimes that's the case where what you're looking for isn't a stretch.
It's right in front of you.
Right. I mean, I know you have a heart for the Cord of Three Strands story.
Yeah. Well, it's, there's something about, we've got a great relationship, the two of us, obviously, and we've grown through that. And that's a beautiful thing. There is something about a third, component or third person to community, to building community. And part of that's for accountability. When you have two people, like you and I, that are very similar in many ways, we could pretty much talk each other into almost anything, right? So, versus you add a third person to the component and all of a sudden there's another perspective and it really changes the dynamic from an accountability standpoint, from a, even a gathering standpoint. If I'm going to get together with one other person and that other person's not available, there's no get together.
Right.
There's no gathering. If there's three and one can't make it, the two could still gather.
Right.
So there's just some practical things there too, but then there's just something biblical that says a cord of three strands is not easily broken.
Right.
Right. And so, there are, we've had people in our life that have used examples. Jeremy Moore loves the three-legged stool.
Right.
There's a reason why a stool can't stand on two legs. Right. And so that third leg is really critical. But one example of this in my own life, having been involved in so many different groups, there was a period really a couple of years ago, right, in the midst of COVID, and just a longing for more as people weren't gathering, and have two dear friends, D'Lo and Joe Agro, who we were just going deeper into discipleship. Right. And this topic of discipleship. And, we grabbed a book. We grabbed a book called Discipleship Essentials, and it was awesome. But truth of the matter, and we worked through the book, but the richest part of the gathering, and we got together, I forget if it was weekly or every other week, but it was the three of us, just the three of us going through this. And the richest time was simply this: hey, how's your heart, bro? Like coming together and the common language and we could immediately, within 6 seconds, get right to heart issues. Hey, what's going on in your life? How's your marriage?
Oh, yeah, trust.
How are your relationship with the kids, right? Like you just, and and again, those relationships were already built. Right. But my point is, maybe it's not just going to try to find a group to join. Who's in your life already that you might come together and say, hey, you want to just get together and have some authentic conversation, check in with one another, see what's going on, and, support and pray for one another.
I would suggest don't ask. You might be that guy. Just do it. Just
right.
Right. Not do you want to have X? Just let's start talking. Be that vulnerable person.
Yep.
Reach out. Yep. Share a little bit of your heart. Dude, you and I know this so much from leading groups, is one of the key common denominators to making a healthy men's group more authentic is you have to model what it's like to be vulnerable and authentic.
Yep.
Sure, you got to start putting your crap on the table.
Yeah, if you're leading people, they're only going to go as deep as you're willing to go.
Amen.
Period.
Right. So, and we do that. So, the other thing that comes to mind listening to you is a really great perspective that you had is part of this could be you finding a group. I don't want to overlook the leaders listening that might want to start one.
Sure.
Like you'll be the focal point for a while and kick it off.
Yep. And that could be it could be really informal and unstructured, like we just talked about, like I had with D'Lo and Joe. It could be, but I would say intentional. Probably needs to be intentional in order for that to really bear fruit.
Right.
Hey, here's what we're going to do. Right. And not that it needs an agenda or a schedule that can sometimes get in the way of relationship.
We're going to meet every third Saturday.
Or it could be structured. I mean, there's a million types of things out there that you could just say, hey, we're going to do that, but with this little group of people.
Right.
Who wants to do this and see where it goes.
Give it a try.
Yep.
If you are, just back to the beginning, if you're ready to move, and you understand there might be some discomfort on this adventure and you're prepared to get real, go.
Yeah.
Just, you can copy what somebody else did. I mean, Lord knows we didn't dream up, have a band of brothers or have a life group or go to Marked Men. Somebody had an idea, Spice had an idea, and all of a sudden 4,000. How many?
Oh, no. Oh, men? No. Beyond 10,000.
Oh, beyond, I forget. There was another number that popped up.
Yeah. Marching toward 20,000, I think.
Really? Holy cow. Well, so let's keep going. I want to talk about the difference, the communities, being in community and doing community. I know you've got some strong feelings about that.
Yeah. Well, a couple of things. I mean, going back to checking the box, right? Now, maybe in the beginning, you need to just check the box. If that's what you have to do to get out there and take a step, then check the box, right? Just show up. Just show up. If that's a stretch for you, then great. That's the goal, is to show up. Beyond that, don't just show up. Don't just show up.
Right.
Maybe the first few times, yes, but participate. The goal should be to participate and sort of, that's maybe the difference. For me, that's the difference between doing community and being in community. If you're being in community, you're a participant. You're an active participant. Versus just checking the box and I go here, I go to this, or what's the motivation? Am I going because my wife says you've got to go? Hey, you got to go to Bob. If you're going to Bob every other Thursday night, then okay, then maybe we're good. But like you got to go, or you got to go to AA, or you got to go to NA, or you got to go to right. Who am I going for? Am I going? Or hey, maybe you're facing legal trouble, and you're like, you know what? I got to go here. I got to go serve. I got to go to AA and NA, so it looks like, right? Now that's just a manipulation.
Sure.
Right? So, but being in community is something we were created for. I mean, we were created by God to be in community. And, there's nothing wrong with finding common connection or affinity groups, common interest groups, finding a group of guys to go quadding with or hunting with or hiking with or whatever. Right. There's nothing wrong with that. That's good. Those are good, healthy outlets, recreation that God created, wants us to enjoy.
That. Sure.
Right?
Sure.
But that is a little bit different, most likely, unless you're stopping partway through and getting real and getting raw and sharing some of your deepest emotions and secrets. Well, but again, it doesn't have to start there. It could start with an affinity, a common interest.
Great foundation.
Yeah, and it can lead to authenticity. And so that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
I admit it took me probably 8 years of the Band of Brothers meetings, but I quickly realized that sometimes men weren't coming. Friends of mine said, I got nothing. I got nothing to share. I'm fine.
Yeah.
Right. And I realized coming to these types of group events and meetings, finding community, you can feed people or be fed.
Yeah, absolutely.
And both are equally important.
Yeah. I was just telling somebody yesterday morning about my Mark Men experience. And he asked me, he's like, why did you go? And I'm like, some dude invited me. I was introduced to this guy who introduced me to a guy named LC, who we both love and adore. Maybe we'll have him on sometime. I had lunch with LC, and he tells me about this Mark Men ministry. And I mean, I just met the guy, and I'm like, sounds awesome. I'm in. Again, high dive guy. I don't mind. No risk. What bad could come from this? I'm in. It was like 6 months later. I hadn't spoken to him again. He called me the Friday of the weekend. It was in PA. It was 2 hours away. I'm on my way there, and I get a phone call. Sarge, it's LC. You remember me? We had lunch like 6 months ago, and I invited you to this weekend. And it starts in like 2 hours. I just wondered if you thought about coming.
Oh no!
I'm like, you're calling me now?
He's on the carpool.
I said, I'm 20 minutes away. I'm on my way. He says, you are? Wow. All right, cool. I mean, literally, right? So, I wasn't. Now, here's the deal,
Lawrence.
I wasn't going because I had this dire need for something that I was aware of, that I had. I wasn't, like in a puddle or utterly broken in my current. I'm like, yeah, I'm good.
Right.
I'm good.
You're pretty fine.
But wow, what was waiting for me on that weekend, I couldn't have even imagined. Yeah. So anyway, and yes, to your point, maybe you feel strong. Maybe you're in a great spot. Well, who are you pouring into?
Right.
Who are you investing in?
Yep.
Don't go for you. Go for the guy that needs you.
And you said humility earlier. There's a certain humbleness that comes with that we're not just looking at the world through the lens of what am I going to get out of this?
What do I need? Yeah.
In sales, we call it WIFM. What's in it for me?
Sure.
You approach every interaction with the other person thinking, what's in it for me?
It's transactional.
Right.
Versus relational.
Right.
If we're approaching authentic community in a transactional way, don't bother. There's no fruit there.
No. I'm really distracted right now by thinking of what you sounded like on the phone with me when you came home from your P1, your Mark Men.
I actually remember, as soon as you said that, I pictured myself in my old car. I remember exactly.
You were on fire. I mean,
what was I even saying? I can't even imagine what came out of my mouth. I was like, you got to do this.
Yes. You were a zealot and you were so passionately impacted. I think you were crying and laughing at the same time.
I'm sure.
All I can recall is it took me about 4 seconds to say yes, like I'll go. And then 11 of us wound up going in the fall.
That's right.
Or I'm sorry, that was the fall. So you went in the fall. I went in the spring.
Yeah.
May of 11.
Yep.
That's Rocket Sarge. That's it. That's an example of Rocket Sarge. So we, in community building, in reaching out, in being humble, there's a metaphor for me. I always call it seed planting. You got to plant the seed for community. Someone does. Mm-hmm. It could have to do with what we talked about in starting a group, but don't want to lose sight of the fact that sometimes you plant these seeds or you seek community, and boy, that seed's taken a while to germinate. Things don't happen right away. And I'm going to jump to the Bible here in Matthew. I think it's Matthew 13, but the mustard seed story that a lot of folks know about. Even if you're not a strong believer, you've heard about the little mustard seed because apparently it's really small. Now I checked. Okay. Fun fact about mustard seed.
Here we go, baby.
Think poppy seed bagel.
Okay.
Mustard seed size.
Okay.
Okay. Maybe a little bit bigger, but poppy seed is close to give everybody a visual. Mustard seeds are really tiny. They can grow to trees or shrubs 20 feet tall.
Wow.
So it's big. Their branches grow from the ground right to the top. They have a lot of, Persia, Iran, these are the areas you get mustard seeds.
Do they grow like little Gulden's mustard
it's true.
jars?
Right. You got yellow and brown mustard. I'm kidding. But there are different kinds of mustard seeds. There's white, the kind you use for pickling,
Okay.
or a mild mustard seed. There's heavy duty mustard seeds, but they served a great purpose back in the days of the early believers, right? They said, this little seed's going to be worth something. And once they realized that was a big tree, it bore fruit.
Yep.
In each fruit is another seed, and you propagate those seeds and those trees and that fruit by continuing to replant and grow and use them in other ways. And that metaphor shouldn't be lost on us as we think about what's in store for us as we go through this. When we step out and seek community and start planting seeds from our heart with people, right? That you're investing in these relationships. And sometimes it gets a little messy.
Absolutely.
Some days this journey is just hard, really hard.
Yep.
And why did I choose this? Why a God-centered lifestyle? Yeah. And some days that seed investment is I need a return now. I need to see something come from that. So I want to. Yeah.
And I think, it's probably worth saying, one thing that comes to mind is anything worth doing is usually hard. But sometimes, hard is a little bit different than, hey, maybe this is a closed door, right? Because sometimes there is rejection or there's, hey, you know what? This isn't for me. Now, how do I get out?
Right.
Right.
Sure.
And that's hard. There can be transitions or, you know what? I started this group. It's not going where I really thought it would. What do I do? Right. Do I press through? Do I not? Right. And that's
hand it off to somebody else.
Hand it off to somebody else. Yep. Do I just, bag it, start something new, rebrand it, right? Change it, and so, I think even though it's not a formula, I want to go back to something I said, because I was talking about schedules and things like that. And those aren't bad things.
Right.
A schedule, again, structure can be good. Structure can be good. As long as we still leave room for, the authenticity to take place.
Yep.
Right.
I want us to be comfortable with making sure folks that are listening know that you have trusted friends around you today. You have mentors, leaders you respect. You can talk to them about, you socialize your idea. Hey, I have an idea, or can I join you? Or, let's say that men in general don't like to ask for directions. This isn't what we're talking about. You can't Google this. Right? This is from your heart. You're ready to move.
It's experiential.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. You might take some shots, along the way. And I want to overemphasize that, but there could be people in front of you that could help. This is a face-to-face event. This isn't digital communication. I think you know this about me. I'm really not a fan.
Yeah.
Text, chat, email. You just can't
Zoom.
You can't look in a person's eyes. You can't feel the tenor of their voice. You guess what the inflection is in communication like that. I'm not a fan. Mm-hmm. I do it every day. Mm-hmm. And there are valuable text relationships. There's no question about it. There's good communication had in there, but that's not the essence of what we're talking about here.
No.
That's not the resource. The resource here is your heart.
Yeah. Yeah. And listen, in relationship, you and I, we have a text relationship, right? And those texts are raw. They're authentic. They're, not always, obviously. Sometimes it's just,
touchdown.
What are you doing this weekend? Right. But that can happen, or even over the phone, over a call. You can have that because you're in relationship already, but probably not going to start there digitally.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
So I think we wanted to touch on a number of resources. There's a ton, just getting practical and giving people some ideas, websites, podcasts, some books. Yep. You mentioned earlier, just plugging into the local church. And obviously that's something that's, part of Mark and I's lives. It's been a huge part of our journey and connection points.
Sure.
Absolutely instrumental. But, you mentioned we talk a lot about marked men.
Yep.
We're going to have just a little, promo here. We're going to have one of the founders, the founder of Marked Men for Christ, Steve Spicer. Spice is going to be on next month, and just really excited to connect with him and hear from him. There are others. you want to touch on some other resources?
Sure. Well, I mean, from a websites and podcasts and books, without spending a lot of time in there, you can go. I mean, there's a Mark Men website. Promise Keepers is one, in the past that's been valuable. The Foxhole Symphony podcast. There's one called Christian Men at Work. I just now talking to Brian, our mutual friend Brian Schroth, about Priority One.
Yep.
I started looking at their weekends. I sent one to you yesterday.
Awesome.
Right? I mean, that's a 3-day get out. That's another case of where that list we talk about, what kind of group you're looking for. You
want to go? Let's go in the fall.
We ought to. Books. John Eldridge. I think I probably, if I didn't mention him already, I'd be surprised. But John wrote a book called Wild at Heart. Very instrumental in my early walk as a man, and understanding that John continues to say, and listen to his devotionals now. John will tell you that a man's heart is tied to 3 primary goals: a mountain to climb, a battle to win, a princess to rescue.
Yeah.
Right. And that resonates with me. Yeah. And I know others, we've talked to Mark Bolenbach and others about, hey, did you ever hear this guy, John Eldridge? So there's just a great catalyst in John.
Great book. Yeah. Great book. If you've not read it and you're wondering where to start, pick that one up.
Right. So don't want to spend a lot more time on resources, but there are a lot of things that could help you in your quest, to get into a good, authentic community. I want to be specific here about a list of risks that you could encounter, just so we can put them out there. One of the risks is this one.
Chirp, chirp.
Right. Crickets.
Yeah.
You got a heart to move, and you know what? Nobody's moving.
Yeah.
You're just not getting any feedback. It's not feeling good to you, and it's quiet. There's apathy. It's just like, hey, world, I'm ready to come talk to you, and I'm ready to interact, and you get nothing back, no energy back.
Yeah.
Beware. The enemy's at work in that. You could get rejected.
Yeah, and that's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yep.
That does not, that experience does not disqualify you or your experience, right? Like if I came back from that Mark Men weekend and invited 100 guys, which I did, it had to be at least 100, right? And 11 chose to go. But if none went, that would not, it would have hurt. It would not negate the experience that I had.
No.
Right?
Right. Oh, no.
So I just think that's an important reminder.
I don't want to lose something here. You just tried to do the humble thing to us. You told 100 guys, 11 grown men turned to their wives or significant others and said, hey, I just want you to know, next spring, I'm going away for the weekend. Honey, what are you doing?
I have no idea.
Right. But Sarge said it was a good idea. So, dude, there is a lot of power in what you brought there, because I remember talking to Maria about it.
Well, we've learned over the years how to describe it, right? And we'll hear that with Spice in a few weeks.
They'll do a better job. So there's some uncomfortable moments in this incredibly valuable journey.
Yeah.
Agreed?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Sure.
Let's end with
which is a good thing. Embrace it.
Oh, absolutely.
Embrace it.
Yeah, you'll learn. Mm-hmm. There's growth there. Mm-hmm. Really is. Mm-hmm. I've just said let's end with. It's not quite, but you and I share something else. It's a bias towards action.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the action plan. Like, what do you do here? What's it mean to prepare to move?
Yeah. Well, first of all, if you're the praying type, pray. Yeah. Start praying. If you haven't already, pray. And even if you're not the praying type, pray. Right. Ask God to lead you.
Right. Start.
Truly, that's action. That's action. So start there and ask God. There was a prayer a number of years ago that I had heard, and I started praying, and it's a beautiful one. And it's just Lord, bring this opportunity to my doorstep. Would you bring this? So start praying that God would make you aware and sensitive to the people right in front of you, and or to bring an opportunity to your doorstep so that it's just unmistakable. But right. And then identify it. Start looking, identify an opportunity, and do it. Get after it. Just get after it. Act. Get busy. Identify it, and just do it. Now, for me, when I showed up on your doorstep, like, I was desperate.
Right.
It didn't. I was just like, point me in the right direction. Somebody point me. Throw me a lifeline. I will grab it.
Right.
Right. And so that's not always the case.
No.
That's not always the case. I mean, thankfully, that's where I was. So it didn't matter. Really, it didn't matter. Like I probably would have done anything that Dan Arthur said to do at that point. And he's like, but you know, go here. Okay. Right. So, you know, that's
some people only move when they're at their bottom, but you don't have to be at the bottom to do this.
No, don't wait.
Right. Exactly.
Don't wait.
Right. If you don't hear anything else today, don't wait. Move.
Yeah.
Move.
Yeah.
There's something to be said about that, right? Thank God for the book of James. Faith without works. Dead.
Yeah.
Okay.
And again, take the next step. Identify the next step, schedule it, and do it.
One of the things that I think about for me in moving is our feed the need story. I'm going to tell the 10-second version. And that is, you said chicken, veggie, soy, and rice. It goes in a little Ziploc bag. We're going to do this together. We're going to fill up the auditorium and we're going to feed starving people in Zimbabwe.
Yep.
I'm in.
Right.
Right. Because that's me.
Yeah.
There was goals.
Yep.
How many meals are we packing? How many dollars do we need? How many people does that equal to? X volunteers. Let's go, brother.
Yeah.
And I promise you we'll tell the feed the need story another day.
Yeah. Good cause, fun.
Right.
Right.
Talk about group, talk about community.
Yeah.
All of a sudden you got several hundred people standing there dancing.
Yeah.
Packing rice in a bag.
Yeah.
Oh, what a great day. Okay. So let's jump to embrace discomfort. What's that look like?
Yeah. So, you know, I think what it looks like is a couple of different things. On the one hand of embracing discomfort, we mean don't let those risks that you mentioned earlier, the crickets, the rejection, the apathy, don't let those stop you, right? Like that's a form of suffering. Hold it,
right?
Move through it. Be patient, right? Don't let it destroy you. So embrace that,
sure,
rather than run from it. But then, on a personal note, right, as you begin to peel the layers of the onion, right, it's going to get uncomfortable at some point. And some of us are just more comfortable with our discomfort than others, right? So particularly emotionally. So, you know, become more and more willing to peel that onion one layer at a time and accept the reality that it might hurt, but that's going to lead to peace. It's going to lead to healing. And,
sure,
you know, at the end of the day, life is not lived on the mountaintop, right? Those Markman weekends, the priority one weekends, phenomenal mountaintop experiences, unbelievable. And there's power, there's healing, there's newfound, you know, awareness, you know, all of this clarity, come out,
emptying out,
ready,
and
focused. But that's not where life is lived, right? A week later, 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, you know, you spend, you know, most of life's lived in the valley.
And it hits you right in the face.
Right. Or it's lived climbing the mountain or, you know, stumbling down the mountain.
Right.
You know, the peak is a blip, right? So, you know, living in the valley, living in the mundane, right? What does that look like? And embrace the discomfort that comes along with that and the work involved in, you know, getting back to the mountaintop.
Sure. And there are some real life challenges in there. One that comes to mind for me, and this is a real life example of a brother coming to a Bob meeting and pouring out his needs and clearly asking for help. And while we were trying not to fix anybody, a couple of the guys hit him with some tough love. No, just, hey man, pull your head out of your tuchus and this is what we see from what you say. Yeah. Never saw him again.
Right. Well, yeah,
that was his last meeting.
If that resonates with you, go back and listen to the art of hard conversations, episode.
So real life, last step in this process is the get real part, right? The take a look in the mirror, pray, decide if you're ready. Do you have the humility, the honesty, the discipline it's going to take to do this and stick with it? Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, take the healing, right, from peeling the layers as you embrace the discomfort and begin to apply that to every area of life. You know, don't just do it on Thursday nights, you know, when you're at such and such a group. Live it, you know, live it. We've talked a lot about groups. Again, what we're not prescribing is like, we don't have this group. We're saying, yeah, join this. You know, sign up for this, register now. Like, yeah, there's weekends, there's groups, all of that. But, you know, we're not advertising a group to join. That's not really what we're talking about. We're talking about a way of being, a way of learning to relate to people in an authentic way in every area of our life. It's about learning to get real, right? Without fear of judgment or being taken advantage of,
right?
Because we've become meek or vulnerable, and to be who we truly are and who we were meant to be. It's why we end every episode with these words: just be you. Right. Just be you. Do you know the real you, right? And the you that you were meant to be that. Live that.
Oh, I love that. I think we're going to keep recording, but that might be a great ending. So I thought ahead when we put this outline together, and I thought, okay, I've just listened to 43 minutes of this, these two guys trying to help me understand what I'm going to find when I step out and go seek community. I've got some questions. And so I've got 5. I'm going to ask the questions. Sarge is going to answer them very briefly.
Okay.
All right. Is this worth it?
Yes, absolutely.
Do I really need authentic community? I mean,
Yes. Yeah. Well, no. Here's the thing. Do I need it? Depends on what you want. What type of relationships do you want? What type of life do you want to live? Do you want to, do you want to grow? Do you want to grow in intimacy with others, whether it be your spouse, with your children, with your, with friends? Do you want to just, stumble through life a mile wide and an inch deep? Do you want to grow closer to God? So ask yourself that. If you want any of those things, then yeah, you need authentic community.
Awesome. Isn't like I'm in a fantasy football league.
Really? Who's your receivers? Sorry.
Kid. Lynn Swan. No, sorry. How old are you? My guys, I hang out and do the cigar and a little bourbon.
It's fun.
Is that the kind of that's accountability?
Not necessarily. There could be. It depends on the conversation. Depends on what's happening. My guess is it could be the opposite of accountability. It might be, exactly what you don't need, but it depends. It depends on the person. Only you know that for sure. So you ask yourself that question, and
how am I going to know if it's the right community?
So I could think of probably a bunch of questions to ask, truly. And again, if you're at a place you just need some community, then there's no wrong one. Just go, right? Get there. But here are some questions. What's being asked of you? Is anything being asked of you?
Right.
Right? Like, are you being challenged in a positive way? Does it cause you to self-reflect? Are you experiencing healing and growth as you've been there for a while? Maybe not day one, right? Is there an opportunity to pour into others, to give back, to serve?
Sure.
And then here's the biggest thing. Is it truly authentic? Or is it just another group of people living their lives a mile wide and an inch deep? And who's leading it? Is that person modeling depth, authenticity, vulnerability, humility, intimacy? Awesome. If not, the group probably won't get there.
Right. Or if it's not, and you think it's worth it, then you model it.
Yeah, amen, bro.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. Last question. Can I get in touch with you guys? Mark and Sarge, can I reach you and ask some questions?
Listen, absolutely. We don't have this all figured out, but we definitely have some experiences to share. And if we can be of a help or support, drop us a line and we'll connect. For sure.
Hit us on the website and send us an email, whatever you want.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. Well, thank you all for listening to episode 6 on the roadmap to authentic community. The goal here, Sarge, we want our brothers to thrive.
Yeah, flourish.
Yep. And ultimately, we want you to understand this is a valuable journey. It's worth the discomfort and investment in time and resources and treasures that you have.
Yep.
And we'd like to see you grow closer to God through other men and understand that is an essential part of the journey from broken to whole.
Amen.
In today's episode, Sarge and I talked about the journey to authentic community. We talked about how to get started and being aware of who and what is around you. We talked about the nature of community and finding the right group for you. We covered some risks and group dynamics and the value of planting the seed and letting the Holy Spirit cultivate it. We addressed some practical steps to take on the journey, and we jumped into our sweet spot, the action plan. Prepare to move, embrace discomfort, and get real. Finally, we honestly answered some questions that you might have as you started on this exciting journey towards wholeness. We love you. Thanks for listening.
If you enjoyed today's episode, please share it and invite others to the Foxhole. You can find us wherever you download your favorite podcast. Be sure to subscribe so you know when new episodes drop, and please rate us and comment there too, as it'll help us get found by others who could benefit. Find, follow, and like us on your go-to social media networks by searching Foxhole Symphony, or visit foxholesymphony.com to make it super easy to find us. Drop us a line with feedback, questions, topic requests, who knows? Maybe you'll be a guest on a future episode. In the meantime, prepare to move, embrace discomfort, and just be you.